Hi everyone, we just had the Campfire Chat for Season 8, including the final patch notes. The season is launching next week on April 29, so in 5 days of the recording of this video. I'm still live on stream, we just went through it all here, and I have the full summary for you. Now, of course, we don't have all the details on every single build and the tier list and all that stuff. You're gonna see that later in a few days on Maxroll. We're gonna be updating the builds, of course, we're gonna be updating the tier list. But I can give you a bit of an impression, at least, of what I think is about to happen. So let's start. So first of all, some info we got from the Campfire Chat. There was a lot of a reiteration about what we have already heard. But, well, we get the big new season theme with the boss powers. So this is similar to previous seasons where you have some kind of interface to select some powers from. So it looks like this here, and you can choose some powers. So if you don't know anything about that, this is what you're gonna get. It is a kind of okay system, but kind of more of the same what we already had. There were some updates to those bosses. There's new bosses. The boss ladder is changed a little bit, the way you require loot from them. And overall, it's gonna mean less bosses you kill, harder bosses, but you also get more loot per boss. So it's just gonna tune down the whole off-roader stuff a little bit. So that's basically what you can expect here, which I think is overall a pretty good update to the game. And well, they kind of went through that again and did some changes on that. If you know about what's happening, well, the incursions, which is the new zones that we have for the bosses, they now have whispers, so you can go there and farm them a little bit here and there. But it sounds like we don't have to do them all day long because we actually have less need for these materials you get there. So they lowered the cost, you get more from the bosses. This is a spectral ashes needed to ramp up these levels here, so they have 20 ranks, for example, and you can get those to max out much more easily now. Also, previously on the PTR, the boss powers were so dominant that basically every single build was just kind of relying on them. So for example, you had one of these Andariel burning powers, and you would apply burning dots with your attacks and stuff like that, and that would just kind of melt everything on a Sork. Or, rogues had this rotating beams around them from the Belial power that was just kind of decimating everything. So it seems like all of these boss power only builds are basically dead. And there is maybe one survivor on the Spiritborn with the Ashava power. That could be a thing. And other than that, I don't really see much hope here for that. So mostly gonna be cosmetic / just kind of buffing you, which means that most builds will probably run something like Urivar's, which now has just a flat 15% cooldown reduction. Maybe there's some other little perks you can get from other main powers. And basically all of these secondary powers will also be just kind of stat buffs, like extra crit, vuln damage, or whatever, these kind of things. So this is what I expect to happen for most setups. And trying to make a boss power only build will probably not be that good. At the very least, until we hit the cap of the scaling here at 200 Paragon. Alright, they went through some of the class updates. On the live stream, there was not really that much. I also have some more that I can go through from the patch notes, because there were a few more info, a bit more info there. For Barbs, I feel like nothing really happened. But when it comes to the patch notes, there were some other tweaks here. So all core skills now cost less resource, so that's a kind of nice thing, especially for early game, I think. Double swing was improved a little bit, which I expect not to be the best build, but probably pretty solid, pretty playable the way it seems. So I might actually log in on a double swing barb. I really loved that back in season 2. I made a big build of that and so on, and I'm really excited to play that again. EQ Earthquake, so that was tuned down yet again another time, but it was really OP in season 7. It went all the way to pit 150 and stuff. So I expect that even with nerfs, this is going to be pretty good. And probably still one of the top contenders. It also has incredible AoE size and so on. So there's that. For the druids, they have gotten this new human form helm here. So this is now also buffed. It now procs more easily. It's this one here, the Geflin's Birthright. So it procs more easily now. And Earthen Might is also much improved, which I expect to actually be a thing in many druid builds. And yeah, some other little improvements here, leveling, especially Gift of the Stack gives you 10 resource per second now. So this is usually a big complaint for early game druids. That is going to be a thing is going to slot in, and you're going to be chilling. I think that's going to feel good. The companions as well are buffed. So again, especially leveling wise, this is going to be felt. And yeah, druid early game is going to be very good now. Late game, not 100% sure how it will look. They did nerf, for example, stuff like Cataclysm, just like they nerfed all the other ultimate builds in the game, basically. Season 7 was a very ultimate heavy season, and now they have like some caps on their damage and some individual tweaks that happened during the PTR. And I expect that something like Cataclysm will still be probably pretty solid, but I'm not exactly sure where those will land. But overall, I think Dura is going to be in an okay spot, and we'll see about this Geflin's Birthright, like human casting might actually become a thing, at least for some builds. Otherwise, there's also a buff to Wild Heart Hunger, which are these boots here. So they were previously used in basically all the shapeshifting builds, which is every build on Druid, and they are now way easier to keep up. So this is also kind of like going in the opposite direction here when it comes to making human form viable. But we'll see. For the Necros, we have, especially blood builds are looking pretty good. So there's like a buff to Bloodlands, like double single target damage, better spread. They bug fixed a bunch of stuff for Bloodlands, Blood Spear as well, so that should be pretty good. Blood Wave got a buff. Vampiric Curse is now an actual curse, so that's like the effect you get from some aspects. Maybe that will help a little bit. But Necros actually overall gets a bunch of pretty good stuff in those patch notes. Also the Paragon notes, for example. Flesh Eater can now be refreshed. So that's the one where you consume corpses and then get a buff. There's this one here. And also the Scent of Death node as well. So these seem to be like very good universal nodes to take now, where previously a lot of Necro builds were a bit struggling to maybe include those. Now Scent of Death just works for everything but dot builds at least. Or at the very least you can still get a damage reduction there. You just get permanent damage reduction and then 30% extra crit damage. So that's kind of neat here. And yeah, I think Necro is going to be mostly like kind of like a blood season here. Then for the rogues, rogues are not looking too spicy, to be honest. So Shadow Clone still has problems with some bugs, especially for like poison TB and so on. So some stuff has not been fixed. That is very, very important for this. So I don't really expect much hope here. TB itself, it might still be an okay build, but the real best build really is going to be Death Trap, I think, by far. And it's also like the only build that will kind of not feel awful when it comes to like high-end bossing. The thing with rogues is that they basically nerfed a lot of the crowd control applications. And for example, Fist of Fate no longer has like all these crowd control effects that it previously had. So this was kind of like a big deal for rogues leading up to, all the way to this PDR basically. We always use Fist of Fate in order to apply all the CCs and stagger bosses quickly. And this is now not possible anymore. So you can still stagger, but way, way, way less. And this means rogues will suffer a lot. And the only build that still has some kind of boss damage when enemies are not staggered is Death Trap, basically. On top of Death Trap just being overall really strong, really fast, big AoE kind of build, I expect this to be the absolute like top performer here. And maybe for like really high-end pushing, there might be some other things here. But as the overall build, I think that's the winner here. It got like some slight nerfs, but nothing that is really crucial. Also new stuff like Poison Trap, for example, is kind of like dead on arrival. And there's some other builds like Rain of Arrows might still be okay, but also got severely nerfed from this like blanket ultimate nerfs, for example. So we'll see about that. One good thing though, if you're playing like a Complex Mixture build, like a Poison TB build or something, we now have a Poison Temper available. There's a new recipe for everyone that, for example, allows this here. Previously, you had to make a druid in order to play such a build to get this temper. So that's kind of neat. Yeah, then we have the Sorks. Sorks got some hefty buffs to cold builds especially Blizzard. So they got some insane updates there. So the Avalanche key passive got buffed. Ice Shards a little bit, mostly like, from like those avalanche buffs and like an aspect and so on. Ice Shards looked kind of fun with the new helm. There's like a new helm for that. It's called, what is that? Yeah, the Hail of Verglass. This is like the new thing. But I don't think that is really going to be like a top performer. It might be okay to play. I played a bit on PTR, it was somewhat mid, but at least with how this going, maybe it's going to be fine now. But Blizzard sounds like it's really going to be a huge deal because the aspects now scale with the ranks of the skills. So you can actually invest like 20 ranks into Blizzard and you're going to do like triple damage with your ice spikes, plus the other little buffs that you got here and there from the key passive, for example. So that is actually going to be pretty good, I think. And we'll see what else. So otherwise, I guess there's always Lightning Spear. Lightning Spear is still kind of like the top performer, but I think Blizzard actually is a contender now. Maybe it's even going to overtake it. And maybe the mobility got buffed as well with Bounding Conduit. There was some note about it that it's not 100% clear, but it sounds like you're going to have more cooldown if you use that aspect for teleports. Then you have the Spiritborn. Well, for Spiritborn, there's not really all too much going on here. So they did do some fixes here on especially annealing hits with the new builds. So there's this Sunbird's Gorget, which is a build that I'm probably starting with actually. I'm thinking about making a Spiritborn for my first character and playing this build here. This is basically like Righteous Fire a little bit from like PoE or so, where you have like some AoE fire circle around you. You combine this with Storm Feathers and you can kind of like buff it up. And this was previously not working with stuff like annealing hits, making it rather weak. Now it will definitely have the damage to go into Torment 4 and like farm stuff there and do that relatively easily. So I expect this to be like a pretty nice new chill way of like, you know, playing Spiritborn. Nothing like really high end, but Torment 4 easily. So that's kind of cool. I will definitely try this. And other than that, the Ashava boss power build, as I mentioned earlier, is probably like a big contender for the best Spiritborn build, or close to that at the very least, or maybe one of the best builds in the game actually, because that was pretty powerful back on the PTR when I tried it. I made a video about this actually. And they didn't really nerf the Ashava power a lot. In fact, actually they buffed it, and they nerfed like some other, you know, conditional effects, resulting in a bit of an overall nerf, but it was not too bad. So I think this is going to be playable and potentially a big thing on this class for next season. Other than that, it's not 100% clear, but Convergence, one of the Paragon nodes here, seems to be working with all sources of non-physical damage now, at least. There was a mention of that. It was also not 100% called out, but this was a problem before where you needed to stack specific elemental damage, like you needed to have fire damage or poison damage or something, and not the non-physical like this. And it sounds like this might just work now, which makes this a bit easier to acquire, potentially even on like physical damage builds. So that's kind of neat, and gives you like another option here for the Paragons. Yeah, some other important things here. Glyph leveling. So you can now level glyphs way lower in the pit. So you don't actually have to go all the way to close to pit 100 anymore to level your glyphs up. And the new numbers look like this. And then like, you know, in like 11 tiers and closer, it's basically unchanged, I think. But yeah, you can now, for example, run a pit 79 and still have an 8% chance to get a level up for your level 99 glyph. So if you have like a really weak build, then you can actually slowly grind up your glyphs. And this means even at 20 tiers below, it's like around 3 runs per glyph level up. So I think this is kind of okay. And many builds will go beyond 80 anyway. You get, you know, pretty close to like probably 90 on most builds anyway, or even go beyond 100 anyway. So 11 glyphs is relatively easy, and every build will probably be able to achieve maxed out glyphs now. So this is kind of like a nice little update here they've done. Some other updates here in the patch notes that I found noteworthy are Neo Rune. This is the one where when you don't take damage for a little bit, you get a lot of offering. It's like 200 per 2 seconds. That now works with barriers, which is effectively a bug fix because it says avoid health damage, but it never worked when you took any hits, even with a barrier. So now that works, and this makes it a very strong contender for a lot of setups. Anything that has a lot of barriers probably will want to run this, unless you have an even crazier one. But Neo Rune is a really good glyph, really good new rune here. So that's going to be exciting. And yeah, very good, especially for farming setups. Vashan is getting a rework. A bunch of other bosses also getting like some slight tweaks. Generally, they said also in the Campfire that they've kind of like tuned down a bunch of the one-shots that we had in the PTR. So there were a lot of bosses that, especially in Torment 4, had various abilities that would just like one-tap you even on very tanky characters. So it seems like this is tuned down a little bit. Overall, actually, they did tune down Torment 4 difficulty, at least damage HP-wise from monsters. So I think previously Torment 4 was something like 10 times harder or 15 times harder than it used to be, which is now roughly 2.5 to 3 times harder compared to what it used to be. So if you have played PTR or seen stuff from the PTR, it's going to be a lot easier than we originally saw. And this will also mean that a lot of builds, including kind of like, bad and meme builds and stuff, will actually end up in Torment 4 yet again if you try enough. So it's not really like kind of completely like, you know, pushing everything out, that it's not like a top meta build anymore, which I think is probably overall a good move. For the blasters, this will mean they're going to be like Torment 4, like day 1, no problem. And then, you know, for the more casual players, you will get there eventually. And even on, you know, not the top build, even you can do Torment 4 just fine, I think, in the future again. But it will be felt. It will be a kind of longer progression to get there. You probably have to, you know, tempo your stuff better, masterwork your stuff better, get some of the uniques. Maybe you stay in Torment 3 for a little while, and then eventually move to Torment 4 farming. Yeah. Other than that, they also did show off some more stuff in the Campfire Chat, so I just walked through all the classes here, but some other little things. Cornet Shrine is getting removed, some Quality of Life updates are coming. Season Journey is getting a big update as well. I think I might actually have some screenshot here, let me see that. So let me see this here. So these are the new bosses, first of all. If in case you have not seen them yet, there's like new bosses coming, including Belial and Mephisto's doggy form. And this is a little Belial. This is the new materials here, but mostly what I want to get at is the Season Journey stuff. So we have that here somewhere. It seems like I didn't make a screenshot. But either way, so there is like now Ashes on the Season Journey instead of the Battle Pass, because the Battle Pass is getting a rework. It is now going to become the so-called Reliquary. What it means for the Ashes is you're going to acquire them a lot later. So some of them are actually on like the last step of the Season Journey, it looks like. So you can't get all the bonuses unlocked that easily as you just level up. You have to work a little bit for them, but it overall seems like a bit more of an interesting system, because they also added like some more steps and some more challenges in the Season Journey here with some extra rewards as well. So kind of nice. And now about the Reliquary, there was already a post about it like a few days ago, but I didn't cover it yet, and they just reiterated everything again. Basically, battle passes are now a thing of the past. Now we have the Reliquary, and the way this works is that you can like choose to buy like, you know, different editions, and then you can unlock, you know, these transmogs. And there is like this kind of like a system where you like have gates and you open them with platinum, and then this allows you to unlock the individual rewards behind the gate, basically. So you have like, you know, for example, 4 of these different little collections. And then each of them has, you know, a bunch of items. And if you collect them all, you get like a bonus transmog. Like here is like a glove of the set. And then you have the entire set when you open all of them, for example. So there's like an entire post that goes into all of the details of how all that stuff works. If you care about it, I'll make sure to link that as well. But there is like, yeah, a replacement basically. And yeah, there's also like this new Berserk collab, which is like a manga that's pretty popular apparently. So there's like some transmog that go with that. And you can also earn some of them from like this new Reliquary that's coming. And then like, for example, a week into the season, this collab starts, and you can get, you know, for example, this back trophy and some new armor sets here. So there's some stuff that is coming afterwards. And also like, you know, Twitch drops are coming. There's like the sword here, for example, and a support a streamer program. So gift a sub or subscribe to a streamer that's playing Diablo 4, which is also starting 1 week into the season. You can get this mount trophy here as well. So this is some stuff that's coming here. Yeah. And lastly, there's like a few more things. The roadmap that we've seen, I made a video about this as well. They said they're going to update this as they go. So there is probably more stuff coming. Maybe they're going to make another one in a few months or something like that. And they did hint at a major update to skill trees and aspects. So this sounds more like an expansion feature to me than like a seasonal update. But it sounds like they want to do like an overall kind of like big rework here, and seems like this is a good target to shoot for as well. So, you know, generally a lot of people are complaining about how the skill tree works and how simple it is and so on. So maybe you're going to see some good stuff here in the future. And well, in the Q&A, there were a few more things. Boss mods will remain tradable. So this was a kind of like a question mark as well. Because now boss mods are not used to summon the boss, they're used to open the chest at the end. So you can just always summon the boss and then get the rewards from the boss mods. And you can still do that. They also said that the big outlier builds will be fixed in the first 1 to 2 weeks. This is something that I've mentioned in like another campfire already. This is kind of like a new philosophy they're following. They're not doing like big mid-season updates anymore. They're just focusing on like, you know, fixing stuff early on, and then, you know, go all in on like the next season basically. And have like a longer development cycle without this like small patch in the middle and so on. This sounds like they're not just gonna nerf, you know, all the good builds basically, so I don't really think you have to worry about this. But if something like super broken or bugged pops up, then I expect we can see a fix here. You know, like Spiritborn from season 6, for example. You know, stuff like that I would expect to get fixed and not just remain active for the entire season. And they did say, we don't know the numbers, but Mythic Uniques will be by far the most drops on Belial, than one of the new bosses here. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything for what we have in the patch notes. Overall, I gotta say, what they've done in the season is generally good stuff, so I'm generally happy with the updates in terms of like what they have updated. Of course, I would have liked to see some more like bigger reworks of existing systems. Like a lot of people are still asking for more endgame systems or, you know, endgame meta progression and these kind of things, which is not coming in this patch. But at least the stuff they did introduce does make the existing game better. So this is kind of like my opinion here. And well, we'll see. I'm gonna log in on Tuesday. I'm gonna be blasting for a while on D4. Gonna make a Spiritborn, a Rogue most likely, maybe a Sork as well, maybe a Barb as well. So there's a few builds that I'm actually kind of excited for. And well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is kind of my summary here. And yeah, maybe there's something else I missed from chat or so if you have anything else. Otherwise, yeah, I will probably come back with like an updated video as well anyway for, you know, the tier lists, and I'm gonna make some guides, of course. We're gonna be working on the Max Soul stuff now, so there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming in the next days. And yeah, let's see how the season will go, guys. So that's it. And oh yeah, I missed something. I missed the Lightning Sork nerf. Convulsion ranks removed. Okay, that was just a bug. This is not a nerf. That's fine. So that was never intended to be a thing. Okay. If you bought the Battle Pass, the rewards give you a total of 700. Yeah, so for the Battle Pass stuff, it seems like it's going to be worse for people that buy Battle Pass, but better for players that were kind of like, you know, free players, basically, if you had the game and didn't buy it. There is now some stuff you can actually earn just by playing, where I think previously that wasn't really a thing. But yeah, I think overall this kind of covers it. I didn't 100% understand how this is going to work and, you know, how much you're going to get. So I guess we have to wait and see. But yeah, that's it. So hope you enjoyed the summary and see you guys next time.